Celtics Warriors once again in the finals. Warriors laying 4 once again at home. Total here is 215.5, a slight uptick from that game 1. Chris, what do you like?
Yeah, so I was going to do this on a previous show, and I don't know if anyone's done this all year. Have we had any parlays this year?
No.
I don't think so.
Might as well take a shot, right?
Yeah.
It's a Sunday game, and as shocking as that fourth quarter was yesterday, a 40-16, I believe, a fourth quarter in favor of Boston. The Warriors, we saying this a lot in this show, and I'm sure you're hearing it across all podcasts, but they have been here before. And after a loss at home, if anything is going to motivate them, right, or help them to button up, it's probably something like that. And there was a lot of things in that game that happened that we could expect to regress a little bit. Again, Draymond Green taking way too many shots. Jordan Poole looked a little lost. He needs to settle down, right? I mean, he was a liability on both sides of the court. You have players that came in there cold, like Iguodala. Who's the other guy that came up? Otto Porter Jr. comes out cold, and I think it was 3 or 3 or 4 for 4 from beyond the arc. So these are players who I think they're going to get warmed up. The Warriors in general are going to get warmed up. Klay Thompson didn't have a great shooting game either. It was just a lot of Steph Curry having to hold up the entire team, and he was brilliant. But the Warriors collectively, as a team, are usually much more fluid than that. Credit to the Boston Celtics defense, and that's not going to stop. Boston's going to continue to challenge these shots, but for what it's worth, there were plenty of open looks for Golden State, especially in that first half. So I do expect Golden State to continue to push the pace as well. We saw it in that game. There's just a lot of turnovers, a lot of missed shots. If anything, I think there could have been even more points in this game. I mean, yes, both teams shot well, but the pace was pretty blitzing throughout. So I'm going to go with a parlay here. I don't want to take Golden State at that inflated line of 4.5 at some books. You saw that come out right away. I would lean to Golden State still because it feels like the books are trying to bait us a little bit, right? Like, hey, I mean, how could you possibly take 4.5 in the Warriors, take the Celtics? But this is still Golden State going back home. And I think this game is going to keep up its pace. And as long as these two teams allow the other team to shoot threes, I don't know what's going on there. And I'm sure they're going to make some adjustments. But they were great on defense in the mid-range. But both teams allowed way too many three-point shots. As long as that keeps happening, and I mean, giving Steph Curry space, or even players like Al Horford space, they're going to keep on scoring. They're going to keep on shooting the three as well, right? There was like a record for the amount of threes made in that first game. So even though I expect a slow start, I expect better defense from Golden State from the jump. So I know there's some plays on the show that I actually like for some early unders. I'm going to take the parlay just for Golden State to win and ultimately for the game to fly over.
All right. Yeah, so hearing you say you like the game to start off a little slow early, I like it to start off a little fast early. They combined for 60 first quarter points in that game 1. And yes, Steph Curry was lights out. He was 6 for 6 from 3. Likely to not happen again. Some regression. Shooting for both teams is what we'll likely see. But I still think the Warriors come out and try and get off to a fast start again. Try and establish their rhythm early. And then Jayson Tatum, whenever he has a poor game, he typically bounces back with a good performance. And I think the Celtics try and get him going early, which just for both of these teams to kind of establish their offense early, knowing that they can rely heavily on their defense as the game goes on. But I like this to go over in the first quarter. That's at 52.5. And Alex, you have somewhat of a contrarian opinion to my pick. Let's hear it.
Well, I'm trying to see how we thread this needle because just to, kind of blow it at this point, I've got first half under. I think this game, it looks very underful. You guys do make some great points about Tatum bouncing back and some of the other Golden State players, but we had a pace of 94, almost 95 in that game, which for the finals is pretty high. I mean, as much as there should be some positive regression, the Celtics shot 50% from the field and 51% from three. I mean, those numbers are coming down. And again, it's not like Golden State had a bad night. They shot 44% from the field and 42% from three. I mean, there's some natural regression coming down both ways. And I wouldn't do this if I were Kerr, but I think when he goes back and looks at some of this tape, I think you're going to see him try to slow the pace of this game down a little bit to get these Warriors more focused defensively. And I think that's a mistake, honestly. I think Golden State has to somehow find a way to thread the needle of keeping the pace up because Boston likes a nice, dirty, drag-out game. They don't mind playing slow. They love iso ball and all that stuff. That's not going to bother them. So I'm a little worried that that there is some natural regression, again, even though Tatum and some of the better players didn't necessarily shoot lights out, and I expect the pace to still be relatively high, but I'm worried about the Warriors' adjustments, some more intentionality on defense, and I'm going to take just the first half under. I might end up with a full game under, honestly. Maybe something I end up doing live, but I think the second half of the series is going to be really interesting, given A, the dynamic of how good the Warriors are in the third quarter, and B, the dynamic of how good the Celtics have been in fourth quarters for some of these series. So I'll take the first half under. I think we get a little bit of a cagey start.
I was debating playing the Warriors in the third quarter because they do just dominate that third quarter so often. But
just do it.
Should I?
Every time. Just do it. Every time. Postseason, Warriors. I hate trends. I don't play trends. I do that stuff. Right. Warriors third quarters, postseason, every time. Just do it. Don't think.
Okay. I guess they are. I think they're plus money in the fourth quarter right now, -1.5, plus 104. So that's a pretty good price you're getting at. Might as well. Yeah?
I can dig it.
Okay. Cool. In terms of X factors for these two teams, it kind of seems like for the Warriors, it's Jordan Poole. He did not get going very well in that game one. For the Celtics, maybe Al Horford's kind of their X factor, and he was lights out. So with so many stars on both of these teams, does this series come down to how these role players perform, or is it still Jayson Tatum needs to step up, Steph Curry needs to step up, those types of guys, Chris?
Yeah, I think it comes down to how the role players perform when it comes to things other than points, right? Both teams have plenty of talent, plenty of offensive talent. A lot of their players can shoot. A lot of these guys can shoot threes, right? That's fairly obvious at this point. But even if Steph Curry has a down game, or like we saw from Tatum, the Celtics can still blow away a team because of the talent that they have. But it's the other stuff, right? It's the rebounds, it's the assists. Draymond Green, I would say, I think he's going to be the X factor in this entire series, because if he's distributing the ball well, in the right spots, playing aggressive, the Warriors' offense and defense is very fluid. I mean, he's so key to them on both sides of the ball, especially when he's their solo big man on the court, right? And he only had, I think, 5 or 6 assists in his first game, so I expect him to settle in more too. I'm not sure what he said on his podcast, but it's players like that. I mean, Jordan Poole is probably going to have 1 or 2 games where he plays better. But the Golden State is just so adept, and they can put so many different players in. I don't think that they need Jordan Poole as much as many people are saying. Kevon Looney too. Kevon Looney still, for what it's worth, his level of effort in some of these games, rebounding especially, keeping the ball alive in those offensive rebounds, has been huge. If he can continue to do that for Golden State and give them second chances against a very good rebounding team in the Celtics, then that's going to be a huge thing for Golden State. But they have to convert those second chance opportunities into points, which that was happening in the second half, and they weren't doing that. But so yes, to your question, yes, but I don't think it matters as much for points on the Boston side. People need to start, I don't know, maybe we should all have Marcus Smart, posters on our walls or something, because he is one of the most.
You don't have a Marcus Smart poster on your wall?
He's just one of the most. The way he's playing right now is so elite on both ends of the court. He's so confident. He's such a leader for that team. I mean, he can drive the ball. He can shoot the ball. He can play defense against anyone. He's constantly picking it out of, players' hands, the ball. So the Celtics it's just hard to say that 1 or 2, ancillary players are the biggest X factors, because they have a lot of guys. But I would say the Boston Celtics go kind of how Marcus Smart goes.
Yeah, it's what those situations where role players in general, especially in the finals, give you the opportunity to win, and stars close kind of that door. And what we saw last night was Horford and Smart kept that Celtics team afloat. I mean, Tatum was 3 for 17, and now Brown was 10 for 23, but you go look at that fourth quarter, Brown turned it on. He was scoring bucket after bucket after bucket. He was getting Horford some of those looks, and that's really what you see. You need the role players to come in and just make a difference. Don't lose it. Don't lose the plot. Give us a chance, keep things close, keep us competitive in this game, and then at some point later on, the better players will come out in the fourth quarter and kind of close the door. And I think we really saw that with Boston last night, especially.
Alex, you weren't on the show yesterday when Josh, Chris, and I all gave our series winners. Who do you have winning this series?
As sick as it makes me to say this as a 76ers fan, I love the Celtics. I loved them before the series. I made a pretty big bet on them, plus 140 to win, a decent-sized wager on them, minus 1.5 games at plus 225. I've actually got an Al Horford MVP ticket in my pocket at like 120 to 1, which is just a lovely off-market number. Again, it makes me sick to say this. I just think they're top to bottom the better team. Steph Curry, nobody can guard him, but with Smart and all these long-limbed, hard-working defending athletes, it's the perfect foil for what Curry can do. And I don't know how Golden State slows this Boston team down, honestly. I don't know if they're going to figure out defensively how they can guard Tatum and Brown at the same time, if Smart's going to be hitting shots and Horford's going to be hitting shots. There's just not enough there. And this is a great spot for Boston. They ripped away home court last night. They're minus 170. I honestly think that should be closer to minus 200. So I like Boston a lot. I think after what we saw last night, I mean, again, you look at that should be a Warriors win. I mean, the Warriors shoot 42% on 40-some threes. They score 108 points, and Tatum's 3 for 17. I mean, if I told you that before the game, is there any chance at all you're betting Boston? No.
No. So I'm on Boston too. Josh is on Boston for, I think Josh is separating his fandom from his handicapping, but, either way, Josh is on Boston. Chris is the only one on the Warriors. Chris, after seeing how physical Boston was yesterday and how the Warriors responded to that physicality, are you getting concerned at all?
Well, I don't have any bets on the Warriors winning this series. So, I mean, I was asked the question, so I would have taken the Warriors in 6 or 7. And this series, I'll put it this way: this series is far from over, right? All these other series where Boston was playing so well, everyone's talking about how elite Boston was, how the Heat shouldn't even be there. And then the Heat come and they completely annihilate Boston. The Warriors are a very good team. I would not be surprised if we went back to Golden State and that was like a 20 or 30-point win. I mean, the part that's challenging now for Golden State is that they're going to have to win in Boston. And that obviously that's a tough place to play, especially with the Celtics team at home, that they're younger so they can really settle in. So, I mean, do I love that I said that I expect the Warriors to win the series before Game 1? No, after seeing that result. But neither case would surprise me, right? And that's the thing, right? We live in a world of hot takes where everyone's like, this is going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen, and we should probably expect that. We should probably settle down a little bit because the Celtics are a very good team. I get that. So are the Golden State Warriors, and they've been here so many times before. I mean, you don't get to be 21-2 in playoff series under Steve Kerr and not know what you're doing. He knows what he's doing. There's going to be adjustments. And it's not all going to be on Steph Curry either. I mean, Klay Thompson didn't have a great night. Some of these other key players didn't have great nights. So anyway, long form of saying, am I a little worried? Yes, but I don't really have any stake in the game. So,
I mean, to be fair, yes, this series is far from over, and there's no reason to overreact after one game. Yesterday, we were talking about how the Warriors have all the experience. They've been here before. They know what they're doing. So that's still all very true. But for Game 2, Chris is taking the Warriors to win that one, parlaying that with the over. I am taking the Warriors, not the Warriors first quarter. I'm taking the total first quarter over 52.5, and Alex is playing the first half under 105. So Alex will get a hot first quarter, lots of points, and then we'll slow down in the second, and we'll both win. How about that?
I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right.